What if I told you that the single most popular financial move homeowners make, refinancing their mortgage, actually costs the average family over $20,000? Not because the rates are bad, not because they were scammed, but because nobody taught them the one calculation that changes everything. To understand why refinancing is so often a trap, you first need to understand how mortgages actually work. And it is nothing like most people think. Let's say you take out a $400,000 mortgage at 7% for 30 years. Your monthly payment is $2,661. That number is fixed. It never changes. But here's what does change, and what the bank is counting on you to miss. In month 1, $2,433 of your payment goes to interest. Only $328 goes to your actual loan balance. You've paid $2,661, and you own less than $329 more of your home than yesterday. By month 12, you've made $31,932 in payments. You've paid down just $4,059 of your principal. The rest, over $27,000, went straight to interest. This is called amortization. And it's not a bug. It's the feature that makes mortgages extremely profitable for lenders. The math works like this. Your interest payment is calculated as your remaining balance times your annual rate divided by 12. So in the early years, when your balance is highest, interest consumes almost your entire payment. The bank collects the majority of its profit in the first decade, before most people sell or refinance. By year 5 of your 30-year mortgage, you've paid roughly $160,000 in total payments. But your loan balance has only dropped from $400,000 to around $370,000. You've paid the equivalent of a luxury car. And you only own $30,000 more of your house. So now you understand the foundation. Let's talk about refinancing, what it actually is, and why millions of people do it every year. Refinancing means replacing your existing mortgage with a brand new one, typically to get a lower interest rate, change your loan term, or pull cash out of your home equity. On the surface, it sounds like a no-brainer. Lower rate equals lower payment equals more money in your pocket. And sometimes, that's true. We'll get to when it works. But first, the part that most people don't see coming. When you refinance, your amortization clock resets to 0. Day 1, month 1. You are once again in the phase where the vast majority of every payment you make goes to interest instead of principal. Let's say you've been paying your 7% mortgage for 5 years. You're now being offered a 5.5% rate. Your payment drops from $2,661 to $2,270. You're saving $391 per month. That sounds incredible. But here's what just happened to your loan. You started with $400,000. After 5 years, your balance is $370,000. You refinance that $370,000 at 5.5% for another 30 years. Now you've just extended your payoff date by 5 years. You were going to be mortgage-free in 25 years. Now it's 30 again. And those first years of the new loan? They're front-loaded too. In month 1 of your new loan, $1,695 goes to interest. Only $575 goes to principal. Compare that to where you were before refinancing. 5 years in, you were paying around $2,100 in interest and $561 in principal. Almost identical principal paydown, but now you have more years ahead. This is the refinancing paradox. The lower payment feels like a win, but the total cost of the loan may actually increase. This is the part nobody teaches you, the break-even calculation. And it's the difference between a refinance that saves you money and one that costs you tens of thousands. Every refinance comes with closing costs. These are fees paid to the lender, the title company, the appraiser, and the government. On average, closing costs run between 2 and 5% of your loan amount. On a $370,000 refinance, that's between $7,400 and $18,500, paid up front or rolled into the new loan. The break-even point is how long you need to stay in the home to recoup those costs through your monthly savings. Here's the formula. Break-even months equals total closing costs divided by monthly payment savings. Let's go back to our example. You're saving $391 per month. Your closing costs are $8,000. $8,000 divided by 391 equals approximately 20.5 months, just under 2 years. If you plan to stay in your home for more than 2 years, This refinance makes financial sense on the monthly cash flow. If you plan to sell in 18 months, you lose money. But wait, most people stop the calculation here, and that's the trap, because the break-even doesn't account for the equity erosion we just talked about. When you reset your amortization clock, you're no longer building equity at the rate you were before refinancing. A complete break-even analysis requires two numbers: how long until you recover closing costs from lower payments, and how long until your equity trajectory on the new loan catches up to where it would have been on the original loan. That second number is often 5 to 7 years longer than the first, and most homeowners never calculate it. They see the lower payment, they see the 2-year break-even, and they sign. But if you sell at year 4, still showing a profit on the simplified calculation, you've actually built less equity than if you'd never refinanced at all. Beyond the break-even, there are 3 hidden costs that rarely get mentioned in the refinancing pitch. First, opportunity cost. The money you pay in closing costs could be invested. If you roll $8,000 in closing costs into your new loan, you're now paying interest on that $8,000 for 30 years. At 5.5%, that $8,000 costs you roughly $4,800 in additional interest over the life of the loan, making your actual closing cost $12,800, not $8,000. Second, the psychology of the payment reset. Studies show that homeowners who refinance to lower payments consistently increase their other spending within 6 months. The monthly savings don't go to savings or investments. They get absorbed back into lifestyle. The discipline required to apply the savings strategically is rarer than the ads suggest. Third, tax implications. Mortgage interest is deductible, but refinancing resets the proportion of each payment that is deductible. In early years of a new loan, more of your payment is interest, which means more is deductible. But if you're in a phase of the original loan where principal is rising, you may actually get a larger deduction in the short term after refinancing, which can skew your net savings calculation significantly. The bottom line? A proper analysis must account for closing costs, opportunity cost, your equity trajectory, your expected time in the home, and your tax situation. Anyone who gives you a refinance recommendation without running all 5 of these numbers is giving you an incomplete answer. Now, to be fair, there are absolutely cases where refinancing is the smartest financial move you can make. Scenario 1. You bought at a market peak and rates have dropped significantly. If you locked in at 7.5% in 2023 and can now refinance to 5.5%, that's a 2-point spread. The savings over 5 years can be substantial, often $20,000 to $40,000 in interest alone, even after closing costs. If you plan to stay in the home for 5 or more years, the numbers almost always work. Scenario 2. You're switching from a 30-year to a 15-year term. Yes, your monthly payment goes up, but your total interest paid over the life of the loan can be cut almost in half. On a $370,000 loan at 5.5%, a 15-year mortgage saves you approximately $160,000 in lifetime interest compared to the 30-year equivalent. This is the scenario where refinancing is genuinely transformative. Scenario 3. You have an adjustable rate mortgage approaching its reset date. Locking into a fixed rate before your arm adjusts upward is not just smart, it's essential risk management. Scenario 4. Cash-out refinancing for high ROI investments. If you pull equity to pay off 24% credit card debt, or to fund a home improvement that directly increases property value, the math can work strongly in your favor. In every case, run the 5-factor analysis, not just the monthly savings. All 5. The mortgage industry is built on complexity that benefits lenders. Every tool in this video, the amortization math, the full break-even calculation, the 5-factor analysis, these exist so you can walk into any refinancing conversation as an equal, not as a mark. If this taught you something real today, subscribe. Every week we break down the financial systems that most people never get taught. Your mortgage is probably the largest financial